Well, good morning. Look at that, the geese have arrived. You can hear them honking and grouping up. I don't know if you can't see them. Oh, they're right there. Anyways, this morning, just gonna throw a couple more fans on, move some bins. So we got these 4000s full of barley that's dry, but I don't know, 1% or 2 green and warm. Like it was between 28 and 32 degrees going in the bin. So these 4000s, the air works way better to go through. Like that roof hatch up there, when you turn the fan at the bottom, it'll blow that hatch right open. So the air is whipping through there. These you probably could get some sort of a drying effect. Like the big ones, the air moves through it, but there's no, look at all those birds. There's no drying effect on the big ones. You just get some of the heat out the top. I did open the roofs again. We had rain last night, maybe a couple of tenths. It rained pretty hard for a little bit. And then, yeah, so everything there's cooled down. The big bins, I gotta move the fan one more time to the oat bin that we dried just to cool it down. So we do cool it down in our dryer, but when you're drying on a 30-degree day, how cool are you gonna get that grain, right? You're gonna heat it up to 35 degrees. It's gonna be dry. You're gonna cool it down to like 31, 32 degrees at best. So we kick it out. We know it's, we know it's dry, and then we stick it in a bin and put the fan on it for a few days, blow some 10-degree air through it, cool it down. Life is good. And then once we're done harvest, we'll core a few bins, because when you do have that air moving, it is carrying a certain amount of moisture with it, but it's not moving at the velocity to get the moisture out. So it kind of pockets on top, and if you don't move it out, you can end up with that green cap. So harvest isn't done the day the last bushel comes off the field. Harvest is done when you have all of your grain in condition, all of your bins maybe checked, at the very minimum, just checked. Hopefully you can get it cored. That's one thing about bin storage too. You really don't have enough storage until you have, I don't know, a couple percent over what you need for your crop. Because if you don't have the ability to move that grain around, you can find yourself in a whole world of trouble. We have been down that road before, and it's never fun when you're trying to move a few thousand bushels of grain around and you've only got single axles that are empty. You gotta take it out and effectively put it right back in the same bin. So anyways, we try to have a couple thousand bushels of extra storage at least. That gives us the ability to at least get the trucks unloaded if you end up with a hot spot developing. So we do have cables in all of ours. We don't have moisture cables, but we have temp cables. And I've really been a big fan of that system. I've read some horror stories online where guys are like, oh, it never caught the hot spot. In the fall here, I check every 2-3 days. I go up and plug it in. And then come November, I'll start to maybe check once a week. December, January, once every week or two. And then basically by then, you've seen all your temperatures are starting to go down. It's good. You can start to check every month or so. And usually by then you've already taken grain out of everything. So you've either had some contracts to fill or whatever the case may be. This morning, I'm going to fire up Donnie here, take him over, blow his radiator out. It's been so dusty the last, well, I mean, it hasn't rained for like 4 weeks, except for last night. Got enough to settle the dust. So even cutting canola, the dust just billows up and it's gross. So we got to get the rads blown out. That's important. You don't want to be running hot. Get them blown out. I'll grease the knife here, grease up the reels, and then I think Mother's gonna come out, swath a bit more. She likes swathing, so the GPS was acting up again. I don't know. I'm kind of at my wit's end. I think after the season, I'm going to take the wheel off. I'm going to take the monitor off. I'm going to take it in, and maybe they can reset it all back to the factory. Or lots of times it ends up being software updates and things that need to be done. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I can tell you it's getting pretty old trying to fight with that. They were generous enough. They sent me out a brand new harness to try. And yeah, the new harness already has different ends, so I couldn't even plug it in. Like, this is a 2016, so I mean, I guess it's 9 years old, but yeah, in 9 years, it's what we have in here is already obsolete. Like that, like this is all getting way out of hand, if you ask me. So the other thing they do, and I'm not exactly sure what engineer figured this out to be a good idea, but they stack everything in here. So let's open this up. I forget how to do that. Oh, it's over here. Okay, open this up. Okay, gross. And then, like a hood of a car, it's got this thing. Goes, forget where it goes, right down there. Okay, you see how gross that is. And then out the sides, you've got, so it is nice they made it so you can pull the oil cooler away from the rad or whatever it is. Why is that tight? Oh, okay. And you open up that, you slide the rad out, or the cooler, and then poof, get all that dust in your face. And then, so you got 1, 2, 3, and then the actual radiator's in behind it yet. So I'm not too sure they had to stack everything in there, but they did. So you can see it, like when it pulls it all through, gets a bit of moisture, and it's gross. So anyways, it needs to be blown out. Well, good morning. Well, it's early morning here, so we had a gentleman here like just after 7 picking up some rolled barley, and then this gentleman's just leaving with some dog food, some cat food, some chicken food, all things good. Cold. It's 1 degree this morning. I'm not a big fan of that at all, so we're just going to be sad about that. But we are progressing along. Swathing is now done. So we are going to move on to straight cutting this wheat, I guess. We did try 2 days ago. It was still 15.8, so a little tough and a few green ones in it. I'm going to climb up here. Sometimes the green ones go out if they're almost dried up anyways, which at 15.8 kind of is almost dried up. So sometimes you don't see them anymore after a while. And I would say that's not too bad. There's a couple right up here, right? So we thought we'd just give it a day anyways, a couple of days. So always that same story. Well, we're not really early anymore because we're like the, what, 15th, 13th, 16th, I don't know. We're into September 12th, 13th, 14th, something like that. 16th maybe. Oh, let me look. Okay, wow, it's the 16th. That's how quick you lose your days in the harvest. Anyways, so it is the 16th of September. So we are not in no ways early, but we're in no way late either. A lot of times you get a pretty nice October, or at least a week or two in October that you can go. So we are down to that 400 and some acres of wheat, and then our 600 and some acres of canola. So we will probably get some wheat off today. All right. Now this is the one that we, had fuel issues with. See how that goes. Fires right up, unbelievable. Okay, well, we're up here now. We got fuel filters changed. fuel treatment, what's everybody's opinion on that? I was going to dump some in, but then I decided not to because I always do that when I'm trying to diagnose, problem solve something. I do like 55 things in one go, and then I never do understand what went wrong. So one thing I do know about, and I'm going to say newer because it's newer to us, but this is a 2003. But basically, this stuff with 2 batteries and 4 batteries and all these big boxes and stuff like that is battery connections are super important, like unbelievably important. On our T9, the one battery charges from the alternator and the other one charges from an equalizer, so they got to be swapped front to back every once in a while. Stuff like this, it seems to be positive and negative connections are extremely important on any of this kind of stuff. So while I was checking while I was changing the filters, I checked these, and these negatives were a little bit loose. So I just took the grinder and I made that notch bigger. And I was going to do the same on this one, but when I went to wiggle it and pull it off of there, it broke right off. So I don't know what the scoop is there. If these things, I guess, whatever, they're lead and copper or whatever, so they only have so many ins and outs. That one's already been switched out already, so probably should get cables too. But anyways, I just texted Dad a picture, so he's gonna run and grab a couple of these before he comes out this morning. And while I wait, I'm going to go make a couple of bags of feed. As I said, it was +1 this morning, and when you drop down to 1 from like 28 degrees yesterday, you get an incredible amount of dew on the grass. So we can't really combine probably till for another hour or 2 anyways. You gotta get that, all that wetness has to leave. So obviously it's gonna be worse in the yard, but out in the field it's no different. That standing wheat has water on it, so not a big deal. I will fuel up my telehandler, and I only got 2 bags to make this morning because I made 14 yesterday. Got them stacked around the yard here, waiting for folks to pick them up. I am very, very grateful that we got that feed mill thing set up differently this summer. That has been a blessing for the fall. Normally we slow down pretty good in basically July, August. We peter out and basically start doing the bulk of our volume ends up being like chicken feed and a little bit of pig feed for folks who have their critters close to home, maybe a little bit of sheep or goat or something. But this year that never even stopped. We just went, well, it just maintained. It went slightly down in volume, but nowhere near like the past years. So that's just a sign of the drought and the times. And there's, folks were cutting their hay in July and realizing that was just a disaster. So what were they going to do for feed? Well, they call the neighbors and find out who's got grain, who's got this, who's got that. And well, we being Summit Forage, Master Feeds, and Westway dealers, we have all of that. So it's been a ride. Well, good morning. I think it's still morning. It actually might be. It's not. It's 1 o'clock. But we have been busy. So Mother's Combine was already down here. We did a little bit of maintenance, tightened up a few sprockets, tightened up a few chains, gave it a good greasing. The 9750 John Deere was out yesterday. Sounds like an injector coil or something. Anyways, of course they don't have the injector, and it was too late at the end of the day yesterday. So it's going to sit here all day and do nothing. Tomorrow their injector should be here. The guy's going to run out, put it in. Like he said, that's obviously going to solve some of the problem, but he doesn't know if it's going to solve all of the problem. So there seems to be basically an endless who knows when it comes to that era of machine. Basically from like 2000 to 2010, probably somewhere in there. That's when the technology was really, really changing. You look at something like our 9610, and it has some circuitry in it, I guess, some fuse panels and stuff. Hey, there's my cat. Yeah. Very rare you see her. Anyways, But you know, they're a lot simpler of a machine that prior to the 2000 era. Then you move into the 2000s, 2005, even into 2010. They were getting super complicated and overcomplicating things. Sensors everywhere. Tolerances super tight, right? So whereas on something like this, and don't quote me on the numbers, but you're gonna have an oil pressure sensor that's, or maybe the 4440 would be better. It's basically just a gauge, right? And the, you know, it goes either into the red or into the green, right? I mean, there's no, and I think, at least in my mind, the tolerances are fairly huge, right? I mean, it's anywhere from this is too low to this is too high. What they've done now with these new machines is they've set those tolerances like super tight. So you don't just have low and high, but you have, you know, if it's supposed to be 18, whatever it is, right? We'll just use a number. It goes off at like 17.8 or 18.2. Like there's such tight tolerances or requirements for these sensors not to code. So you always have codes, sensors, low engine speed, high engine speed, longer crank over rates, lower fuel pressure, higher fuel pressure, oil pressure, temp, engine temp, over cranking. It just like it literally ends. High voltage or never ends. High voltage, low voltage, you name it. These things are throwing codes, and I think there was probably too much too fast. Everybody was excited and they were trying to build the next best thing that, of course, maybe not us, but farmers had to beat the doors down to get this stuff, you know, like, oh, I need a brand new whatever because it's got 50 more sensors or whatever. And you are seeing this, you have been seeing it over the years, but you're seeing it now where a lot of people are coming out and they're being like, you know what, that corn doesn't matter if I combine it with a $1.1 million combine or a $10,000 combine, it's still $3 a bushel and it's still 115 bushels an acre or whatever, say in a bad year, right? And we're no different up here with our grain crops. It doesn't matter if you go out with a 50-foot header and an X9 combine, the wheat is still 35 bushels. At this point it seems to be number one and decent protein. I just hauled a load to town, it was 15% protein. So I don't know why we got lucky with that. We didn't get lucky with the yield. But anyways, you know, she's getting the same job done with a 9610. Maybe she's not getting it done as fast, but she's getting the same job done as with these new machines. And our newer machine is sitting there waiting for a mechanic waiting on parts and then waiting for a mechanic. So lots of the stuff, belts, bearings, chains, we can do ourselves. When you start getting into diagnostics and codes popping up on the dash and stuff like that, we've found here your money ahead to just get the tech to come out, because say you know it's an injector code, maybe you don't have the tooling to read which injector it is, so you just change all 6 or 8 or whatever, I don't even know what's in that thing. You just change them all and you've wasted yourself. I don't know what the injectors are worth, but maybe you only needed one or whatever, or maybe it wasn't even an injector at all, right? Maybe it was a wire leading to the injector. So we find in these cases throwing parts at it, because the parts are getting ridiculously expensive too, ends up costing you more money than just eating your pride and being like, I don't know how to fix it, I don't know, call somebody else. Well, good evening. 4:45. Mother broke the knife on her combine, but we did have one of these like knife repair kits. Pretty straightforward. It's just 2 small pieces of iron and a few bolts that have like they're recessed holes drilled in them, so the bolts sit down and you just kind of sandwich that in between, sandwich your knife or your section and your actual knife that the section's attached to, and then you just sandwich that in there, bolt it all down, and it's holding it. It goes about 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 10 holes, I think, a few sections anyways. But yeah, anyways, so she's rolling again, just made one more round. We were hoping to get Carl full so I could take him to the elevator this evening. They close at 7, I believe. So if she doesn't break down, all she's really got to do is get down, go around that well site, come back, and finish topping this last hopper up. The wheat is weighing up very, very much, so you don't need to put very much in the Super B to get a legal load. A little bit trashy yet, but it's a terrible crop. So I think this wheat, when I was chatting to the guy at the elevator, we come to the conclusion that it might be running 30, 35. I do think that's probably a stretch. I think that more like 20, 25, but well, good morning. Another busy morning, loaded out some molasses, got the combine in, fueled it up. Gonna wash the windows quick. There's lots of dust, eh? Like it has no amount of measurable rain in quite some time. And oddly enough though, we did get a little overnight. So I don't know exactly. I think it was so spotty that it rained on those bags, but then it didn't rain over there, and it rained on the deck, but it didn't rain on the other side of the house, because when you look around, there's just no water on anything. Like it rained on the header of the combine, but it didn't actually rain on the combine. So I realize that's kind of goofy, but that's really what seems to have happened, is we got like 6-foot rains. So yesterday, Mother did break the knife on her combine, but we had this kit from before, and actually we ended up just using this one, knife splicing kit. So it was, where is it at? It's right here. Anyway, so that's what it looks like now. It's got some recessed bolts in there. Seems to be working very well. So I got a couple of guards to straighten, and then she's gonna go back at her. But first I'm gonna wash the windows. All right, gotta be in here out of the wind. I have no idea what you would have just watched. I know I had all that like on my phone, but I've been just too tired to edit anything together and whatever else. So anyways, I'm not even too sure how far back this goes, but when we finished the barley, got everything moved back, that engine was surging. It was a couple of no start days, a couple of rough starts, a couple of delayed like rev ups. Those combines have three, like a turtle, a rabbit, and then a rabbit running or something, or I don't know what the picture are, but basically three speeds. So, you know, you kick everything in and then you go to the next one, and then you go to the quickest one. Well, sometimes we'd push the button and nothing would happen. And then a couple times when I started it, the engine would run at 800 RPM and it wouldn't rev up or anything. So John Deere was out. They claim it had a code, injector 5. So that combine actually sat for like a day and a half, 2 days, I guess, waiting for the injector. If you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you know, like 3 years ago, we had an injector fail and it actually wiped the engine out. It washed out the cylinder head. So they were like, yeah, we're not going to run it. So anyways, that's a little bit frustrating, because when we had done the green light and I went to pick that combine up, first thing I noticed on the corner post was a wrench flashing. Basically your check engine light in your car, but for a combine. And I had brought that up and I said, gee whiz, you guys, like we just spent like $34,000. So you think you could have cleared all the codes. So when Corey went to pick it up, light was still on. And now I didn't really, I guess I never asked what it was, but Corey claims all the way back then that they had said, oh, it's some engine code, don't worry about it, we can't get it to reset. Well, I expect at this point what it was probably that injector 5, but I guess there's no way to know. We ran it for a season and a half, basically, since that green light, and it ran all good all last season, so might have been that injector's time to fail. I do believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe when we took the engine out and they rebuilt it at John Deere, they didn't replace the injectors, but they did all send them out to be tested. So I guess maybe at that time we should have just replaced them, but you never know. We haven't got a bill for this yet. I expect there'll be little to no change out of $5,000, so it's kind of frustrating. I have been hauling a load of wheat, or 2 loads of wheat every day. I've been hauling one in the morning. We leave the Super B loaded overnight, haul it in the morning, and then we fill it up again in the day, haul that one in, and then we fill it up again, and then haul it the next day. But anyways, they're plugging away here. This piece, I think, was like, can't even remember now, but it's, I mean, like 340 some acres. They've got to have, oh gee whiz, I don't even know. Oh, they got to have a good 260 or so done. Where they're at right now, those are the longest rounds. Those are like a mile, I guess. So going pretty well. I was surprised because I was talking to my friend up north and he was saying the protein was no good. Dad was talking to his friend in Westlock who also said the protein was no good. And when that is the case, the blooms, we just understand that our wheat is going to have no protein because nobody else's does. So I hauled it in and they were like, yeah, your wheat's got 15, 8, 16 protein. So make that make sense. I don't know. Like, I don't know what did it. It's not yielding very well. I'm not even going to speculate to say. When Corey did get going, her yield monitor, yet again, I say this every time I bring it up, her yield monitor has never been calibrated, but it is a reference. So when she gets out into the middle of the field and like the best, or the, sorry, the majority of the field looks the way as it does in the middle, she says it reads like 20, 15, 12, you know, kind of like that. But when she gets into the good spots, it reads 90. So what is this going to average? Who knows? I don't know. We'll basically know because we're hauling all of it right to the elevator. So once I get the last, we're only sticking some in bins because the elevator's filled up, I guess. So I might not be able to haul any more tomorrow. Might have to wait till next week. So we'll just stuff the rest of this in a couple of bins and then hopefully we can get those emptied or get some barley emptied because by this time next week, hopefully we're rolling on canola.